FSU law professor Dan Markel was married to a woman named Wendi Adelson. The couple had 2 young boys and lived in Tallahassee, Florida, where Dan worked. But after 6 years of marriage, Wendi left Dan. After the divorce was final, they were still in a bitter custody battle. One of the big issues the two were fighting about in court was relocation. Wendi wanted to move back to Miami, more than 400 miles away from Tallahassee, to be closer to her mother, Donna, her father, Harvey, and her brother, Charlie. Dan did not. He wanted to stay in Tallahassee and wanted to be a full-time father for his 2 boys. Dan was winning that battle in court as the judge ruled that Wendi could not move to South Florida with the boys. Then, everything changed dramatically. Dan was murdered by 2 hitmen from South Florida. Prosecutors say Wendi's brother Charlie was the mastermind behind the hit. They say he coordinated the murder through his girlfriend Catherine McBanoa, who was also sleeping with one of the hitmen. Now Charlie's on trial as prosecutors try to connect him to the crime. Tonight, we'll take a listen to some of the wiretap recordings to try to understand what was happening inside the Adelson family. What exactly was the relationship between Charlie and his mother, Donna? And what about Wendi? What was her role in the family? We are live from Tallahassee, Florida, as we continue our investigation into the murder of Dan Markel. I'm Wendi Adelson. This is Closing Arguments. Thank you for joining us. You know, when you're growing up and you're a little boy, who is the person you look up to? Who is the person you emulate? Who is the person that you want to be like? When you're a little boy, it's your dad. It's your dad. And some dads are there for their kids and some aren't. Dan Markel is one who was there and would do anything to make sure that he was always there. Financially, psychologically, and physically. And when him and Wendi split, and there was a battle, and there was a motion made by Wendi to try to relocate those kids 400 miles away, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. And I think Wendi knew that. Because even when her and her mother and her brother were talking about give him $1 million, Wendi didn't even offer him the $1 million, because she knew there was no way he could be bought off, that he would give up the most important job in his life, which was being a father to those 2 boys. He was a loving father. That's why he was killed, folks. All right, so in this murder for hire plot that prosecutors have laid out here, what's interesting is when you look at the allegations and you listen to the evidence, I think there's a question in a lot of our minds, like, who was in charge of this murder for hire plot? Prosecutors at this case are saying that, you know what, Charlie Adelson, he was the mastermind. But as we're listening to the evidence, listening to the wiretaps and the discussions and understanding the family dynamics, I think there are some questions. I think there are some questions about who was really the driving force behind this murder for hire. If you believe the prosecution's theory, right? The defense is saying this was extortion, right? But if you believe the prosecution theory and what they're laying out here, and you believe their evidence and their witnesses are credible, I think there's a question about who was actually in charge of this murder for hire plot. But for this jury, they only have one person to choose from, and that's Charlie Adelson, not his mother, Donna Adelson. Their relationship, to me, is crucial to this whole case. The way they're interacting, the way they're communicating. And I think when you look at that and unravel it, you find a fascinating relationship. And who's making the calls, right? It's almost like if you make the comparison to a mob family, like who's the Don and who's the captain? We're going to talk about that tonight with our experts. Then what about Wendi? I keep asking this question every night, but like, what's her role in the family? And what did her family think of her? You're going to hear in these wiretaps tonight some conversations between Charlie and his mother, Donna, about Wendi. They're talking behind her back about her life. It's fascinating when you get into the family dynamics in a case where it's alleged that this family wanted this man dead and hired hitmen to do it. And it's really about these secret wiretaps, because when you have wiretaps and you have these recordings, you're hearing things that people don't necessarily think the world is going to hear or wants the world to hear. Unless they know they're being recorded, then it's a whole different ball game. But we're going to take a listen to all of that tonight. But we've got big, enormous, huge news out of Tallahassee. Let's go down to Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae, who's joining us live outside that courthouse in the state capital of Tallahassee, in the Sunshine State. Julie Janae, every night you bring us the big three. Tonight, I know what number one is. Why don't you tell the folks at home?
The biggest of the big moments, Vinny. Charlie Adelson is electing to take the stand in his own defense. His team really didn't share this or release that he may be taking the stand. They didn't hint at it in their opening statement. When the state rested today, they called to the stand their first witness, a divorce attorney for Wendi Adelson, someone who downplayed just how bitter this custody battle was, saying that things were going fine and these parties, especially the Adelsons, understood that this was just part of the legal process. It wasn't as if Dan Markel was going to win in his arguments. But then once that witness was done, the jury was sent out and Charlie Adelson was asked that all-important question.
Mr. Adelson, please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can lower your hand. Mr. Adelson, do you understand that you have the ability to testify on your own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you also understand that if you choose not to testify, your silence cannot be held against you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had an adequate opportunity to discuss with your counsel whether you wish to testify?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you also been able to discuss with your counsel how this decision would fit into your theory of defense and also the strategy that you wish to present before the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you made a decision concerning whether you wish to testify?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that decision?
I will testify.
Are you firm in this decision?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to discuss with your attorneys whether you wish to remain silent?
No, Your Honor.
Everyone in the courtroom was leaning in to hear what he was going to say. Will he, won't he? And there was some surprise among those who are in the gallery. I will point out there are really no people that we've noticed who are there in the gallery supporting Charlie Adelson. No family members that are there on his side of the courtroom. The jury doesn't know that he's going to be taking the stand. They were out of the courtroom. They came back in and they were told they get to go home early, which they were very excited about. But the judge said in case he changes his mind overnight, he didn't want to prejudice them by telling the jury to expect him and then they show up in the morning. But it looks like he is ready to go, Vinny. He was even chuckling a bit before and after that colloquy with his attorney.
Well, this is interesting because now he's made that commitment, sort of, has overnight to sleep on it, and there's always a chance he could potentially change his mind. But I'm looking at the case. I don't think he can. I mean, the evidence that he needs for his attorney to make the arguments has to come out of his mouth. And, you know, from what we've seen, Charlie's very chatty, and he knows how to talk. That's his thing. I mean, his attorney admits that. So, did you see any sort of reaction from prosecutors or anyone else inside the courtroom?
Not an immediate response, but Prosecutor Georgia Kappelman, she very quickly wanted to ask this judge to go to sidebar so they could discuss timing, because it was around 4 o'clock, 4:23, when this colloquy happened, she didn't want him to go on the stand and then be able to take a break before the cross-examination starts. So they were successful in figuring out that, no, we shouldn't go on the stand and we just stay late. We'd probably still be here for your show, Vinny, with him on the stand. The other option was for him to come back tomorrow and start fresh. So that seemed to be what they wanted to make sure happened so that they can just go rapid fire through. He's going to do his direct, and then they will get into his cross.
That's interesting, because many times we've seen, you know, someone get up on the stand and then the cross is the next day, which is really, I thought, an advantage for the prosecution, because now you can go over his testimony and find all the places and have a game plan going in. But what I take it is this prosecutor knows the case inside and out. Inside and out, and is confident they'll be able to react to anything he says. All right, this is huge, game changer. Charlie Adelson taking the stand tomorrow morning right here on Court TV. All right, that's a big number one. A big, big number one. What do you have for number two tonight?
Number two is Donna Adelson declaring her innocence. Inside of this courtroom, these jurors have heard a lot of her. They've heard a lot from her on those wiretaps, but I'll tell you, it's been difficult to hear her voice, especially on the wiretaps for Charlie's phone. It's kind of muffled. You don't really get a sense of what her emotion is coming through. But today we heard a recorded call that she made to the undercover agent. She thought it could be someone blackmailing her. This was after the bump. That agent that approached her in the street, kind of scared her, shocked her, handed her a piece of paper saying, $5,000, call this number, this is what I want. Her next call, which is what everyone was listening for, was to her son, but there was also a call back. She called the number on the piece of paper. Here's a listen to her voice that really filled up the courtroom today.
You approached me on Alton Road. You handed me an article from the newspaper about my ex-son-in-law. You told me I need to call you and help your friend who is in prison. Now, at the time you did that, I didn't understand what you were talking about. I didn't call you back. Then you mailed me a threatening letter. Then you send me a text message to my phone that says I'm not taking you seriously. So I am taking you seriously. And I really want you to listen to me. I have to tell you, I mean, this is important. I have been so stressed out. I have spoken to 10 or 12 people who are close friends of mine, telling them about this and basically picking their brains and asking them what I should do, because I don't know your friend who is in jail. You mentioned a name. I don't even know his name. I never spoke to him. I don't know what he looks like. I've never met him. I'm sorry your friend's in jail, but I don't know what that has to do with me.
You know exactly what it has to do with. You know exactly what. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me. You just got to listen to me.
You need to ask your friend who this person looks like, what their name is, something, because I know there's a big reward out there, and if you need money for your friends, that's the way to get it. I mean, I'm asking you nicely. I don't know who he is. I am out of the loop. It is not me.
When you are hearing this inside of the courtroom, I mean, if we didn't have any other evidence around Donna, this would sound like someone pleading with this person, saying they don't know anything about it. She continues to maintain her innocence throughout this call that was around 10 to 15 minutes. She even is telling them, hey, there's a $100,000 reward. If you have information, go get the reward from police. Take your information. And here's how she ended that call with this person that she's not sure if they're a cop or if they're a blackmailer.
I know, it isn't me. And I can't take this kind of level of stress. I just can't. I know I didn't do anything.
You talk to people, you talk to the right people, you talk to people, you make this 5K come to me. That's all I need. Just do it and get it to me. Do it and get it to me.
I'll call you
Bye.
back.
Once that call was done, I saw this one male juror, Vinny. He's basically the one that gives the most expressions, I think, throughout this trial. He took off his headphones, and I just saw him shaking his head as if he didn't believe a word that just came through in that part of the evidence.
To me, it almost sounded slightly scripted, and like she knows it's a police officer. You know, I did not do this. I have no idea, and I don't know any of these people. Like, didn't she cut a check to Katie McManua? Wasn't she cutting her checks, like $17,000 worth of checks? And did she ever call? She never called police either, did she?
Didn't call police, and she never said, even in that back and forth, that she doesn't know Katie. She was just silent when he said, you know who I'm talking about. You may not know Tato, who's in jail, but you know Katie. You know Katie. And she didn't deny that, as if she knew this might come back on her at some point, because you're right, she was cutting those checks.
Yeah. I don't know. If she ever gets charged and they try to use that phone call as her defense, it might be difficult. But who knows? You know, I never know what a jury's going to do. Or what I just know the way I'm reacting to it. Okay. That's two big ones, by the way, like really big. What do you have for number 3?
There's a lot of big stuff that keeps happening in this trial. Number 3 is Charlie Adelson and Catherine McManua, hot and cold. This relationship that they have has been on display inside of the courtroom, and it spans all of these years, right? It's the relationship they were in before Dan Markel's murder, when they were actually together. Then they're not together, but they're still close, and they still seem to have each other's back, and they trust each other. And there are times when Katie is flirtatious with Charlie Adelson in these calls. We listened to that inside of the courtroom today. There's even a time when she's mentioning that, hey, he should adopt her kids.
It's getting aggravating.
Yeah, it is. All I'm saying is find out who the it is and tell them to stop playing their games. I don't know who you have to talk to, but it needs to be nipped in the butt.
No, man, I'm gonna handle this myself, bro. This is some bull. I'm gonna handle it myself. I'm about to go to the FBI. I'm getting irate with this. If I the FBI name or whatever it is, because I'm not getting hurt.
All right, go find out. I'm saying
Give a wrong phone number. Maybe you're
Okay.
getting it. You get a wrong number. Where's my birthday present?
you get nothing. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Dude, I got you tickets to the concert.
I know. Thank you. I like to thank you.
Where's my birthday? It's not your birthday then. Wait, you wait first.
Whatever. Yeah, it's not your birthday.
I would feel better.
It's your other goddaughter. It's your goddaughter's birthday at the end of the month.
Oh, yeah? I got all these people that want me to adopt them.
No, well, you already know my kids.
I got like 60-year-old women in offices asking me, saying, "Where's your kids?" I got them that day. They go, "You adopt me." I'll give you the Father's Day card. I got Sally wants to be adopted. I got like 8 people that want to adopt.
I want to be adopted. You don't want to adopt me. Adopt my kids.
I give you a little love.
You're the godfather.
All right.
The takeaway from that, Vinny, Charlie feels like he is, and perhaps is, a ladies' man. He's got all these people who just want him to take care of them, and he is trying to take care of them all.
Unreal day. Julie Janae live in Tallahassee. Big, big day tomorrow. Charlie Adelson on the stand. Thanks so much, Julia.
Thanks, Vinny.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to bring in our experts and try to dissect the Adelson family relationships with one another. Plus, coming up next hour. In Austin, Texas, Caitlin Armstrong in court for day 1 of her murder trial. She's accused of murdering her love rival, then fleeing to Costa Rica with her yoga mat. Tonight, we take a look at the opening statements.
On May 11th, 2022, at 9:15 p.m. here in Austin, Texas, the last thing Mo did on this earth was scream in terror. Those screams are followed by 2 gunshots.
A brilliant law professor gunned down.
In the midst of a bitter custody battle.
Now the victim's former brother-in-law, a prominent South Florida dentist,
accused of being the mastermind behind the murder.
Florida prosecutors are setting their sights on Charlie Adelson.
3 people have already been convicted for their role in the plot.
Now, will Charlie Adelson's own words come back to haunt him?
The Dentist Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were single?
I think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Yeah, I think she was all in on Wendi's life, Donna Adelson. To me, that's clear from the evidence that we're seeing and hearing, I think, personally. I mean, they were together on J-Date when when Donna picked Dan for Wendi. I mean, they together were there picking out who she was going to date. I want you to take a listen to some wiretaps. This is Donna and Charlie, and they're talking to one another about Wendi. It's like they're having a conversation about her, you know? Wendi's not part of this conversation. Take a listen.
I don't ever offend her because I don't talk about her. I just say, Wendi, listen, if you put a 37-year-old Victoria's Secret model in front of me, I wouldn't want to get serious with her. Why? When I could be with a 25-year-old. I said, a 25-year-old's going to be 18 in 15 years. I go, you want to buy a car with high mileage or low mileage? I go, listen, Wendi, you don't want to date a guy that's 50. You know why? Because he's too old for you. Wendi, the Victoria's Secret model, I wouldn't have you set me up with if she was 37. And that's just, it's a double standard, but that's life. She knows about double standards in life. It is what it is. So all I can say is, like, when I talk to her and I put it in those terms, she gets it. She gets it. But, obviously it doesn't help that she's got these friends. I know. Tell her that you deserve the Superman with some guy who's a doctor who's single, who's just dying to take over the responsibility for kids who aren't his. Like, there's tons of very wealthy, successful, young, good-looking guys want to date her because nothing's more fun than having a 6-year-old fart in your face while you're trying to talk to your girlfriend when you get home from work. That's awesome. She asked me if Dave could come to the house for Mother's Day.
Oh, she asked you?
Yeah, if I would mind. And I said, of course I mind. Don't bring him. Yeah, I told her. I said, yeah, bring him. She texted me the other day. And I said, yeah, bring him. The more the merrier.
Why not? It's fun.
Yeah, I don't care.
Listen, I wouldn't care if you take the kids and her and Dave out of the boat.
That'd be your best Mother's Day present this year. Wendy wants to bring Dave.
Yeah.
She's developing a brain.
She's developing a brain, that's right.
Wendy just doesn't comprehend at all how lucky she is.
She doesn't.
It doesn't register in her head how lucky she is at all. No, but not even nothing. It's just, which is great.
Let's do a little analysis. Let's bring in our guests. Joining us tonight in McKinney, Texas, prosecutor, defense attorney, creator of the YouTube channel Jury Trial Mentor, Carl Steinbeck is back with us. In Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. And in Orlando, Florida, psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey. I think his family needed some life counseling, but okay. Dr. Carol Lieberman, what do you think? Let's start. Donna and Charlie, do you think they're They're trying to control Wendy's life. What is this relationship like? What is this relationship about?
Well, I think, first of all, that the mother is certainly, overprotective. She was using a euphemism. She didn't want to admit that the mother was controlling, but clearly she is. And I think Charlie, in that phone call, he has an unrealistic sense of an ego that is way too big for really reality. And he's putting his sister down in the meantime. There were 3 siblings, so obviously there was competition amongst them for their mother's love, their father's love as well, but especially the mother. She ruled the roost. And so that's why, and he's a mama's boy. He obviously was the closest one to her.
Dr. Janie Lacey, what do you think of this dynamic with Wendi and her brother, Wendi and her mother?
I think mom is used to being in control and she's used to running the show. And Charlie's probably been that golden child, the one that she's probably even had been able to lean on, and almost like a surrogate spouse to a certain degree. And Wendy's probably, from what I'm seeing, has probably been the scapegoat. They've been able to focus on her problems and being able to solve her problems, which obviously is a deterrent from the real issues that are probably going on in the family. So when we see this type of structure, there's usually one that's running the show. Probably dad is turning a blind eye and diving into work, and Charlie's probably that golden child, and Wendy's probably the scapegoat because they've been able to focus on her.
Yeah, and even though he's the golden child, I still don't think there's any Victoria's Secret models that are lining up to date the frumpy dentist from South Florida. Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, even if he has his red sports car and his roommate. Like, he's making fun of her because she has kids. He's like a grown man that had a roommate. I don't, okay. Anyway, Carl, I want you to take a listen to this. This is some testimony talking again about Donna and Charlie and how they're into Wendy's life and decisions she has to make. Let's watch.
Was there any evidence of Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson meddling in Wendi Adelson's life?
Yes, there was quite a bit.
All right, I wanted to bring your attention first to a text message that was included in Sergeant Corbett's presentation about pulling the plug on a home purchase. Are you familiar with that text message?
Yes, I am.
All right, and for the jury's reference, it's page 218 in Sergeant Corbett's presentation, but we've already seen these text messages. Can you tell me why the date of the pulling the plug on the house is of interest to your investigation?
That text message was sent on Halloween of 2013, which was the same time frame that Catherine McBanwa said that Charlie came to her.
All right, so the pulling the plug on the house, who's pulling the plug on the house?
Wendi was pulling the plug on the house. She was looking to buy a house, and Charlie was talking to her about not purchasing the house, not wanting her to purchase a house in Tallahassee.
And was that done at someone else's urging to Charlie?
Yes, it was.
Who is that?
His mother, Donna Adelson.
All right, and this date where it's revealed in the text that when you pulled the plug on the house is the same date that Charlie Adelson first approached McBanwa about harming Markel?
That's correct.
All right, Carl Steinbeck, what does this tell you about the relationship, and what does this tell you in terms of significance in this case?
Well, I think the timing of it is very key because October 31st of 2013, that's when Katie talked about Charlie first suggesting to her, do you know of somebody that can do some bodily harm to someone? And they'd only been dating a few weeks. So it looks like Charlie was grooming her while Jeff Lacoste, a month later, was being groomed by Wendi to be the fall guy. So there's a lot of parallel tracks of how these two are being treated by both Charlie and Wendi. And Charlie telling her to get back out of this house deal, she's wanting to purchase a house, shows the degree of control that they were exercising over her and her decisions. And keep in mind, Wendi had her own family law lawyer up there to tell her how to do this thing. to try to relocate, because the relocation was still pending. So it just shows the degree of influence they have in trying to make decisions for her, the most important decisions of her life. And keep in mind, when Wendi was interviewed within a few hours of Dan being shot, when they asked her, who do you think could do this? One of the first things she said is, maybe somebody did it on my behalf. And the first name she mentioned was her brother, Charlie.
Unbelievable. Dr. Carol Lieberman, so as we're looking at this, right, and we're hearing all this evidence, and we're trying to understand who is calling the shots here, we've got Charlie and Donna and then Wendi. Does it seem like they're all on the same page, or does it seem like Donna and Charlie are sort of moving Wendi around and sort of taking her and steering her and controlling her?
Well, the relationships amongst the three of them are very tenuous, in the sense that in some ways they love each other and they want to take care of each other and all that, but there's also some resentment there. And I think that that relates to Charlie deciding to testify for himself. That's going to be, obviously, that's going to be the game changer, not just in the usual way that, you know, when a defendant testifies, it can go either way. But what I think is there either three things can happen. Either he's going to fall on his sword and take the blame and protect his mother and his sister from, you know, being charged, being called to the stand, and so on. You know, because as things are getting, as the trial is winding down, there's more suspicion to his mother and his sister. Or he's finally going to act out on the resentment that he's felt towards his mother all those years for controlling him, and you know, implicate her. Or third, he somehow, just like he was talking about how he could get all these women, he has this inflated idea of he can take the stand and he can fool them, and he can, even though he's guilty, he can fool everybody and come out smelling like a rose.
We shall see. Big day tomorrow. Everyone's staying with us. When we come back, we're going to dive a little deeper into that relationship between mother and son. Who's actually making the calls here? If this is a murder for hire, if you believe the prosecution's evidence, who is in charge?
That's what I would imagine war to be, just bodies all over, and it was just horrible.
One of the most bizarre trials in American judicial history.
When Darrell Brooks decided to represent himself, that changed everything.
It's simply another tactic of his to disrupt, to create chaos.
Your life is not on the line. Mine is.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. All new Sunday night, 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Another text from Donna Adelson. If you speak to Wendi today, tread lightly. Don't ask questions about the depot, her lawyer, etc. Tough day, and she's really stressed out. The showed up at soccer yesterday, and when she tried to leave with the boys, he said, "No, stay here and play with Abba." She to the boys that Abba had to leave, and he said, "No, I don't." Of course, she woke up to another email from him telling her that she is lying to the boys about their father's whereabouts and that this will be brought before the court. Such a it was Wendi's day. He is allowed to attend the children's activities, but that's where it ends.
So Donna Adelson looks like she was mad that he didn't just attend the activities. Dan Markel engaged with the kids, gave them a hug, said he wanted to play with them.
Yes.
So there's some communication back and forth. Donna and Charlie texting about Dan, again, wanting to be the loving father that he is, wants to spend time with his kids while they're playing soccer or whatever. Like, yeah, it's Wendi's day, but, you know, still his children. You can interact and say hi at their activities, obviously. Things were bitter. Things were bitter. They could try to play it down, but this was bitter. This was bitter. This was personal. But the question I have now is, if this is a murder for hire plot, and you believe that, and the jury believes it, who's in charge of this whole thing? Would it be Donna, or would it be Charlie? let's take a listen to some more testimony about communications between Donna and Charlie, mother and son.
Was there a text message exchange in March of 2014 where Donna Adelson asked Charlie Adelson to erase a text that she sent?
Yes.
Okay, can you show us that? Can you read it to us?
2 texts here. The first says 37 miles to Gainesville. And the next is, I can't talk now, but I'll text you before we stop in Gainesville where I can go to the bathroom and have a moment of privacy. Then I'll call. Please pick up because I will have very limited, quote, alone time today. Erase this text after you read it.
Okay, so she wants to go to a bathroom to talk to Charlie Adelson on the phone in private once she gets in Gainesville here,
Yes.
but wants him to erase that text on his phone.
It's what it indicates, yes.
Okay. Then a few minutes later, what does she say?
We'll stop in about 5 minutes and I can speak to you privately about Dad's birthday gift when I'm out of the car. I have some good ideas.
Okay. So in this text, she's saying that the text she sent 30 minutes before is about Dad's birthday gift?
It would seem so, yes.
Or that the call she wanted to make was about Dad's birthday gift, rather?
Yes.
Does she ask him to erase this text message, though?
No.
And that's the message where she's talking about what the secret call is supposed to be about, right?
Yes.
If the defendant's dad, Harvey Adelson's birthday isn't until July, it would appear that they were planning a birthday present for him here on this phone call in a Gainesville bathroom about 4 months in advance, right?
Yes.
Now, June 7th, this would be the day after, would this be the day after Garcia and Rivera arrived back in Miami with an unsuccessful trip for them to Tallahassee where they did not accomplish the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes.
So this would have been the day after they got back in Miami from Tallahassee?
Yes.
Okay. And what's next?
He responds, okay, have fun, still working on Dad's B-Day present, to which Donna Adelson says, I know it's a tough B-Day, being 70 at all, but I know you'll come through. And then there's a thumbs up, kissy face, mom.
Okay, looking at this relationship, Dr. Janie Lacey, couple analogies. Who's the alpha dog? Is it Donna or Charlie? If we do the mob scenario, who's the Don, who's the capo, right? Who's the Don, that's head, making the calls, and who's the capo carrying everything out? I mean, how do you see this relationship? Who's in charge? And if you believe, again, if you believe the prosecution's evidence, who's really the driving force behind this hit?
Well, when I consider the mother and the son relationship, it can get very complicated. So my assumption, based off of certain types of dynamics, especially in potential narcissistic type family structures, I would say that mom is probably running the shots. She's pulling the strings, and Charlie wants to please mama, right? So that little boy and him is still alive, and that relationship sounds very enmeshed to me in that sense. So, and that would also, if we kind of dissected his relationships with women, we can probably take that another level further. So I would say that mom is probably running the show, and Charlie wants to please mom, and he is calling the shots, which also gives him supply and power to make his mom happy.
You know, it's interesting, you said pulling the strings. Carl Steinbeck, you know who else pulled the strings years ago? Don Corleone in The Godfather. That's what it was all about, right? Just pulling the strings. What are your thoughts here, Carl? Because Donna hasn't been charged with anything, yet we're listening to this evidence, we're listening to this back and forth. Who do you think is really the ultimate driving force here, if you believe the prosecution's evidence?
Yes, I've called Charlie the operational planner. I do believe Donna is the boss of the family. She dictates what happens, especially for her boys. She decides who and when they should date folks, and if they don't approve, they're going to get the wrath. That's why the one brother, Robert, is not involved with the family anymore, because she had such a controlling influence over who he was dating and wanting to marry. So it's really a effort of her to control, extreme control over her boys' lives. And Charlie was the one that was always listening to her and doing what she wanted to do. And keep in mind, they're talking at least an hour a day for the last year and a half while he's been there in the Leon County Jail. So it's a really enmeshed relationship. And as you see from those messages, it was her idea to come up with this: the murder will be a birthday present for my husband, Charlie, who's Harvey, who's Charlie's dad, of course. So it worked out where they even used code words like caterer to describe the hitman helping bring the birthday present there to the party.
Wow. All right, Dr. Carol Lieberman, take a listen to a little more of Donna and Charlie on a wiretap.
I will, I'll definitely come down. It actually works out perfectly because I have the day off.
Okay. You know, so I'll make you take me out to dinner, so make sure you bring cash with you.
All right.
Okay?
So I need to bring cash?
Yeah, if you take me out to dinner, and I have a little, that's probably a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this, I don't have much cash to bring.
Yeah, I'll see if I have money for dinner. Let's see what I have here. Okay.
Was it, can I ask you, is someone blackmailing you?
No, it's always a good possibility.
You think someone's trying to blackmail you?
Maybe. Could be.
No. That's crazy. Is there, I don't know what blackmail is called, but is there any way I could see you? You can't come up here at all.
All right, Dr. Carol Lieberman, if you believe, again, the prosecution's theory and evidence in this case, who's the driving force, calling the shots, the ultimate boss of bosses here?
The mother, of course. You know, and that's some more code, presumably. The money for dinner is money for either for the blackmailer or for the, you know, something to do with the murder. You know, it's really this family is so interesting because they are the least likely, if you were, you know, trying to cast a movie or a play, they would be the least likely family for you to cast as the ones who are the murderers, the blackmail, I mean, the ones who are involved in this kind of a scheme. I mean, a Florida dentist. It's just so against type, I guess. You would never cast them. It almost seems like a parody on this whole thing. But obviously, this is a very serious business. And the question is, are the children going to revolt finally against their controlling mother? That's the question.
All right. Great to have all of you with us tonight. Carl Steinbeck, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Dr. Janie Lacey. Appreciate your valuable time and your great insight into this case. And we'll see you again really soon.